My special guest tonight is the artist formerly known as Yorgos Kyriakos Panayiotou. He's a one-time disc jockey at the Bel Air restaurant in Bushey, who became a superstar of modern popular music. He's a boy who worked as a dishwasher in his father's restaurant, who Sir Elton John described as the Paul McCartney of his generation. More recently, he's been in the news because of what's been described as the most public coming out in history. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome please, George Michael. May we begin?
What a lovely bunch. They're very large, these Greek families, aren't they?
Well, nice to see you anyway. Good to see you. I'm good that we could finally...
I have to say, before we start, actually, I wanted to say that this is a great honour for me, because I can remember being, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old, and my mum would allow me to stay up beyond a certain time in the evening only to watch the Parkinson show. She thought it would be a bit of quality watching, so I'm very, very privileged to be here.
Well, that's very, very kind of you. Very kind of you. It's good to have you.
And she probably wouldn't have been quite as thrilled that I had to take my willy out to get on here. I mean, really, would I have been on for an hour tonight without that incident?
So it beats sleeping with the producer anyway, but certainly it's... yes, of course you've been on for an hour. Because
I remember calling earlier in the year and they said they could get me a walk-on Going for a Song. That was about it, you know. And suddenly here I am.
Oh, here you are. Let's talk about that incident which led you to be here tonight. Then. I mean, what happened? What was the story?
I think it's fairly well documented by now. I mean, it's something that I've had to talk about for a while, just so that I can not have to talk about it in the future. You know, what happened was basically I fell prey to one of these SWAT teams that they have in America, and I think they probably still have them in parts of England, but they're paid to nick guys who are looking for sex with one another, I guess, and the way that they do this, unfortunately, in the States is to actually try and induce the crime, and then, or if they get a response from someone, then they nick them, basically. So what happened with me, even though the police reports suggested that I was a flasher, you know, I mean, I may be screwed up, but I'm not a flasher. I responded to something, and I responded to a, you know, very handsome, tall, good-looking American cop. You know, they don't send Columbo in there to do that. And so I responded to that, and I can't be ashamed of the fact that, you know, it was there in front of me, and I thought, well, why not? You know, it was a stupid moment, and obviously I've suffered for it. But
they said, of course, the police say that in their justification they'd had complaints of lewd behaviour in that.
All about me, of course.
Yes.
You know?
Well, but in that sense, I mean, you said that you felt you were entrapped. But is there a sense in which also you might believe you were set up? I mean,
I think it's difficult to go that far without sounding, you know, like there's a conspiracy against me, and God knows I've kind of suggested that enough times before. So I think it's fairly likely that there was a little more collaboration between the paparazzi and the police than is necessary or legal, put it that way. And that was indicated by the fact that the next day, or within hours, there was a police arrest report, which is they're not released from the LAPD, but there was a police arrest report which was obviously on the desk of the tabloids within 4 or 5 hours.
I suppose a lot of people would ask the question about why you, as a public figure, as somebody who is recognised, both here and in America, why you take such an outrageous risk?
Well, I suppose that's the whole point, isn't it?
Is it?
I think
That's what I'm
so. I
asking
mean,
you.
I think so. I don't know. I mean, to some degree, you know, I was not in the best state of mind, and it was a kind of reckless thing to do. But ultimately, you don't see it as a massive risk if there's no one else around, and you know, I've said this before, but it's true. If there's someone standing there waving their genitals at you, you don't think that they're an officer of the law. You know, it's not your first presumption. So, you know, I fell for the trick. You know, I fell for the trick, and it was very well done.
But nonetheless, you knew the risk you were taking. That's the point. And one wonders. I mean, it's been suggested that perhaps, in a sense, what you were doing is that you were actually begging to be arrested. So, in fact, that the coming out will be public.
Believe me, I wasn't begging to be arrested.
But
people have actually even suggested that somehow, and I mean, I have to say, I have had the #1 album for the last 4 weeks, which I'm very glad of. But I'd have to say, if I was the bravest and most genius pop star in the world, maybe I would have done it deliberately. Because in the vast majority of the world, with the exception of America, which, you know, it's like wall-to-wall homophobia anyway, everywhere else, I've never had my records kind of... Well, I have, actually, but probably not since the days of Wham have I had a record that's done so well. So you have to kind of presume that some of it is about the fact that the arrest focused people on the fact that, you know, I had a greatest hits album out there. So, yes, I can see... Obviously, there would have been... From my own point of view, there would have been reasons that it would probably have been quite a good idea to do it that way. But believe me, I would rather have run up and down Oxford Street naked saying I'm gay, than have it happen the way it did.
But I mean, let's go back to that moment in time where well, not, but later on, you've been arrested, you were being bailed out, you went back home. Now, it can't have been at that time that you were in an optimistic frame of mind. You must have felt that indeed your world had collapsed from underneath you. What was your frame? What was your feeling?
My frame of mind, I think, was still very much influenced by the fact that I lost my mother last year. And as has been fairly well documented, I lost my first partner, my first ever real living partner, about 5 years ago.
Yes.
So I've had a very strange, well, not just strange, but a very distressing 5 years. And I'd actually literally the arrest happened within about a week of what I felt was the end of my intense grieving period for my mother. So I'd come out of about 5 months of terrible depression where I was afraid for the first time that I was really scarred by the things that had happened to me. And when I came out at the other end of that depression, I was so grateful that was over, that when this happened, it almost within a day, of course for a day I was like humiliated as hell, and I was embarrassed and had to deal with everything with my boyfriend and stuff. But after about a day and a half, I could almost immediately, actually, I saw the funny side of it, you know, and I just thought, you know, you've got to be able to laugh at this. If you can't laugh when everyone else is laughing, then you're in trouble, you know, and God knows everyone else was laughing. So within about a day and a half, I was able to see it as kind of something that, put it in perspective, really, just having gone through such heavy stuff in my life recently, just put it in perspective. You know?
In fact, you took the decision, I think, 24 hours after all this was happening, with the helicopters and news crews, all that. You decided to go to a restaurant, didn't you? Just to make your public declaration. Tell me what happened when you went there.
Well, I suppose there's one recurring theme to my actions as a celebrity or as a person, as an adult, and that is if I'm pressured into anything or pressured into a point of view or a certain position, either by individuals or by history, i.e. the way that celebrities normally deal with scandal and shame, you know, or supposed shame, I react against it. And my reaction to this was, I'm not going to be like another one of these people that's peeking out from behind their net curtains a month later, you know, trying to get rid of the press. They were surrounding the house, and I thought, for God's sake, you know, what is the game here? What do you want, a reconstruction? What is it, you know? Why are you all here? So I thought, I'm just going to go out for a meal. I know they'll all chase me. I know they'll just, you know, I know it will cause, and it did cause havoc. You had all these cars going across red lights and this, and I was just ambling down to my local restaurant, you know, and I just thought that's the only way to deal with it. In fact, someone had said something to me earlier in the day that one of my closest friends said that his mother said He's not the first, he won't be the last. He's just the biggest. And I thought, I like that.